regarding the exam. But before we do that, I'm going to do a bit of introduction, okay? You're free to take the, whatever, the feedback session or revision session with your mobile phone recorder. I'm happy with that, okay? If that will help you, okay? Now, first clarification is that the notes you have here, 98% is the same thing as last year. The major revision is that I added research articles because the university is a research university, and one of the complaints is that our work in EMA doesn't reflect the research background of the university. When you go to work and you're faced with a situation, you still have to do a bit of digging up. The digging up is the research, so we're supposed to give you that research skill, okay? So the experiment is actually having to have research articles. So I know some people raised the problem about the lecture notes, but they're exactly that of last year, okay? So while some adjustments will be made for the next group based on the feedback, there's no clear attempt, or I've not tried to change the attempt to change the notes, okay? So it's a state standard of notes. Now, in terms of the exam, just to emphasize, it's still on the slides. I'll also put up the slides on Blackboard, okay? Normally, when we set exam papers, we get somebody to review it after. So the person solves the question, checks for mistakes to make, and checks to make sure it's of similar standard with prior questions. Now, we get one person internally, and when this is vetted to and fro and you agree, there's another external person. In this case, I asked for 2 people and not 1 person, okay? So your questions have been vetted by 2 people. So it is, they have agreed that it's a similar standard to prior exams, okay? So there's no big deviation or any significant deviation. The only thing I'll be expecting, which would be just a slightly different, is that I would expect good discussions. I'll come to that, okay? That's the only difference in expectation, good discussions, not listing when you're asked to discuss stuff. I'll talk about that. So essentially, like prior exams, you have similar exams, you have senior standard of work, okay? So if you look at old questions, you see that normally you're asked to do 4 questions out of 6, okay? So it's still the same format. It will be on Blackboard, okay? So if you just copy things you think are different from what's the slides, okay? Then, like I said, it's already reviewed by 3 people, okay? Then let's see. Okay, all questions by nature are supposed to have calculative aspects and discussion aspects. Now, because you have a wide range of topics, you can't have one topic separate, okay? And in life, you don't have separate issues dealing with one aspect of life. So a lot of topics will be integrated. So you can have a question with 3 topics, okay? So you have the general story, and then the questions will tell you, maybe, for example, calculate the bottleneck, okay? Calculate pricing, this pricing using maybe the economic standard model. So that's how you know which topic you're addressing. So you look for relevant figures that suit the topic. So imagine when you're looking at the exam question, there are a bunch of figures in the passage, okay? If you're asked to do a particular exercise, like calculate bottleneck, for example, you're not going to use maybe investment figures. They say, okay, the company has invested this amount. But you think, what does this really have to do? So you only take relevant figures, okay? And that is the test. What figures will be relevant to this question, okay? So, okay, now in terms of the discussion, the next exercise is submitting. I'm going to make it a discussion exercise. So that means that when you write your discussion, I and Claire would mark it like an exam style, okay? So you know the standard and the expectation, okay? You already have the exam format, okay? But it's just like saying, for some people that like listing, kind of reiterating, okay, why not do this? Why not expand, discuss more in this area? So we'll have our tutorial questions, okay? The next exercise, not tutorial, the next exercise reflect that. Also, if before the main exam period, you struggle with discussions and you decide to write on any topic of your choice, maybe pricing or ABC model, just and you write an A4, okay, addressing a question you have chosen, you can give it to me, I'll mark it, and you can come for feedback, okay, if that would help you, okay. If you feel you're quite confident with your writing and all that, then it's not necessary, but if you think, okay, I'd like your feedback on my writing, please, you can send me something A4, no more than an A4, and I'll give you feedback, okay. Okay, in terms of the calculation, so the assumption is that all topics would involve a form of calculation or the other, except balance scorecard. So the last topic is more of a discussion element, so you wouldn't expect any calculation. So every topic you read, you must practice a calculation on it, okay? So I'll come to the specifics of the calculation. I've explained the integration of the questions, okay? Now what I've done, sorry. Okay, so thank you. What I've done is actually on Blackboard, I have uploaded 2 exam questions, okay? So I expect you to practice all of them, okay? And I think I've also uploaded the answers. I do not expect you to practice any more questions, exam-related questions, outside these 2 I've set up, okay? So if you, for example, I've set up 2, and you go and pick an old exam question, decide to practice it, to me, it's not going to help you. These are the 2 I think are the standard and sufficient if you do everything I've said you should do, okay? So I'm trying to narrow your focus, okay? So 2 exam questions have been set up, okay? And then I'm also putting on, what do you call it, textbook, specifying textbooks that I want to look at just to make it clear, okay? Now, just because of the articles, when you send your feedback, some people talked about the volume of articles they were reading and all that. So just for this then, okay, so the next step probably will be pretty big, okay? I decided to streamline and pull out the other articles, okay, for your exam. So intentionally in your exam, those articles I gave you, the other ones, would not be tested. So I expect, the articles I expect you to read are these 2 articles, okay? For this one, the first one, Davila, why you're reading it is because it talks about the limitations of TQM, okay? When we go to the other side, you see that I expect that every technique or methodology, you should know the criticism. Now, the second one, you need to read the article, okay? And it does provide an example of your ABC methods. One of the areas some people said not very clear, so intentionally. Okay, I need to switch the screen. Okay, see the article, okay? So if you don't have it, it's easy to download, okay, from your library website. So I expect you to read it. We did something on usage, okay? So the emphasis is that we did a practice question on what do you call usage, ABC usage. Some people were not clear about it, okay? This is an example of ABC usage, so you can actually read and practice and understand, okay? And then the article gives you an extra understanding of ABC, which is also important. Okay. So only 2 articles and one is about 3 pages, okay? So it's as simple as that, okay? Now, in terms of case study, okay, Now, people say, why do we do case studies? I've been getting that comment, and part of it is to show you outside your simplified mathematical approach. In real life, it's a bit more complex, okay? For some people, it will be relevant in their workplace. Some people, it might not be relevant, and that's why you do case study, okay? They're slightly more complex than the normal scenario, okay? And the complex scenario is actually the real-life case study. The other bit is that you get to practice your presentation skills, and one of the things the university is key to drive is employability skill, where you go and present, or you present yourself in an interview, and you have a higher chance of getting the job, and even on your jobs, you'll be expected to make presentations. So using case study is supposed to actually hone that skill in, presentation skills. So that's one you're expected to do, okay? Not everything is because of your exam, okay? Now, because of your exam, I have chosen to narrow the areas, okay? So you'll only be examined on either all of them or any of them, okay? So you're supposed to read just 3 case studies, okay? In prior periods, it is a practice not to tell students to focus either on 5 case studies. They're expected to read all of them, okay? But this time I've chosen, okay, based on feedback, just to narrow it. So you're only to read 3 of them. Now, are the figures necessary? No. Please do not memorize any figures from your case study, okay? So the key things I want you to look at are things like, what are the issues in the case? What are the problems in the case? So similar semantics, issues, problems, challenges, okay? Possible resolutions to this problem. So you know what each case is testing, and so you try and look for a resolution in that light. So just focus on 3 case studies. Now, 1 case study has been uploaded, okay? And what you have is a summary of these issues. Now, it doesn't mean that that summary contains everything. If you put word to word of that summary that has been uploaded on Blackboard into your exam script, then you're likely to get a C or below, because that is just almost like a guideline. It's not complete, and it doesn't have depth. Depth means a thorough discussion or argument about the problem. Okay, just like when you present slides, most of you put lists, okay, and then you talk about it in depth. So I expect you to look at the list, okay, and extend the list and discuss it in a thorough manner. So that's what you're supposed to practice before going into the exam hall. Okay, so after the Dulux case study, okay, next week, I will also upload for Dulux, and then after Viada, you get that uploaded, okay? So there's a potential that any of these case studies can be tested on its own, okay? Meaning the question is all about strictly case study. On the other hand, like most of you, when you looked at your practice questions on Sloan, you could be told to refer to this case study. So essentially, what you know about the case study, you're expected to draw from it, okay, and put in your exam script. Do not draw what is irrelevant just because you know it, because the test is about you identifying the issues that are relevant to the case study and I'm putting it in your exam script. So you get marks for drawing on the case study. So the best way is to make sure you have the write-up of all these case studies, addressing all these issues, and so you're well prepared for your exam. But please do not bring it as part of the draft, because that would be unfair, okay? So don't bring, but you can bring something else as part of your draft for me to mark your essay style question. Okay, so only 3 case studies, and I think that is fairly simple, okay? So the what do you call it? Deluxe calculation is not yet uploaded. I'm trying to make minor adjustments to it.